Hello, welcome to Productions MJC. I'm Mark. Today we're going to be talking more along the lines of the flat Earth, but more specifically, the moon, sphere, or disk. Now, if you're not familiar with this, in looking through the flat Earth, figuring out, watching the videos, learning what they're telling us and everything, and trying to figure out if it's right, I ran across a moon and stars problem. I was researching flat Earth, ran into a phenomenon called the disk moon. Now, at first I dismissed it as a lesser even minor point. However, there's a definite reason behind it. And I'll explain the reason behind it. But first, here we go. This is it, that phenomenon about the moon. Uh, it's pretty cool in itself. To me, it looks like a bowling ball. To others, whatever it looks like, man in the moon and that. Uh, it's different to everybody, and yet it's the same. It's right up there in our sky. Well, and the flat Earth representation has a sun and a moon. They have the moon circling there on the dark side, the sun on the light. You never really get to see the moon moving other than directly opposite the sun in their demonstrations. Also, let me jump onto a little subject here real quick. These are the seasons that they depict. Uh, the moon is depicted as a crescent there, right above the summer indicator. But here's what they say it is. The sun rides along the outer edge. In the winter for us in the northern part, it rides far in the red representation. In the winter for the northern hemisphere that I'm from, it rides farther out, closer to the middle in the spring and fall, and then it rides in the center ring. Now, I really didn't see a representation of how that actually worked until I saw this one. And I thought, well, that's really ingenious, but really complicated. So the sun not only moves horizontally, but it moves vertically, is what they're saying. It kind of moves in a corkscrew fashion, up and down. Now think of it, this is a representation, an artist's rendition of how our sun moves through the cosmos and the planets move around the sun. They say this is an outlandish idea. This is nuts, according to flat earth people. Well, to say that this is normal, I think stretches it. I mean, the sun moves not only up and down, but in and out as it goes along. I mean, in a helical corkscrew fashion. Okay. That's how they explain that. I just wanted to show you that part of it before I went back to the main subject, the moon. Why a disk? What is the significance of a disk moon? And and what all prompted the moon to suddenly have to change from a sphere to a disk? What is out there happening? This is what's out there happening. People like you looking at your photographs and going, wait a minute. Why does the moon look different for people in Auckland, New Zealand than it does for people in London, England? Then they start to look at photographs from Auckland and Sydney, uh, South Africa, and they go, wait a minute. This is how the representation looks. Now, remember, the moon is really far out there. So a person on the top of the earth sees this version, a person on the bottom of the earth, so to speak, sees an inverted version of that. Flat earthers came back and said, okay, we can do that. We can say that too. Now, they show this representation. And for a while, for a little bit it was okay. And then people started to ask questions again. And they said, well, wait a minute. If it's flat, if it's moving along around us and the Earth is flat and the moon is relatively close, it's only 3,000 miles away and 32 miles in diameter. If that is the case, then people, say, in North America would have one view, say the blue one, where people in New Zealand would have the red view. And if it's a ball, they've got two totally different views. They never see the part in the middle. But if it's a flat disk, if it's two-dimensional, they both see the same thing. Let me explain. As this moon moves along and the sun moves along, the sun doesn't make any difference. There's no discernible markings on it. But the moon, there definitely is. To the observer that's on the far left, he sees a gibbonous moon. The observer under it sees a half moon. An observer farther to the right sees a crescent moon, maybe even a new moon. So they had to make the moon two-dimensional to fit into the flat Earth model. And even though this is a representation of a disk moon over a globe Earth, it's still trying to show you how this might work, might not. Now, in other videos, I show you this. In a minute, I'm going to animate it, and I apologize for the animation. Somebody allowed me to do a screen grab, but I want you to see how this path of the sun or the moon along the top. That's how flat earthers say it moves, but our perception is the arc. See, they say the moon or sun is traveling across the top, and it's there at its peak, and then it moves off away from us, and it's our perception that it's making this arc, but it's really just actually flat. But if it were an airplane, you would see the front, here you would see the side, and here you would see the tail, because an airplane's a three-dimensional object. So the moon cannot be a three-dimensional object in a flat Earth. If it's two-dimensional, then both people see the same thing, only inverted. But if it's a ball, like a basketball, if it's spherical, they see two totally independent views, and only the bottom triangle matches. Now, remember, if the sun or moon is very close, like 3,000 miles, as it moves along, you would see, if it was spherical, changes in that moon as it moved just from noon to 5 o'clock, like this representation is. Now, in another representation, see it at noon as it travels down. Look at 5 o'clock. That's covering 7 different lines of intersection because the moon has become enormous. It has actually grown in size as it hits the horizon, because in the real world, if something's moving that far away from you, it's going to get tiny at the horizons, and it's going to be large in the center. I superimposed two flat Earth illustrations to show you what their concept is. Now, one thing that falls totally apart is the phases of the moon. On the flat Earth model, I haven't seen anybody really represent those very well. They've gone, you think the disk moon is a stretch? This is a representation presented on a flat Earth presentation. They think the seventh heaven, Venus, causes phases of the moon. Well, and they also say it's a translucent, semi-opaque disk that you can see stars through. Never mind that it's the problem with their camera and their filter and such. This is Aldebaran on the left, and it moved behind the moon, and it reappeared behind the moon. It did not shine through. Most of the photographs you see, I'm an amateur photographer. I've taken pictures of the moon where it looked like there was a light on it, but after I cleaned my polarizing lens, the aberration went away because it's just dirt on the lens. It's not really a star shining through the moon. But you'll see people misrepresenting it and trying to convince you in that disk moon. Why? Because of this. If it's a sphere, this won't work on a flat moon, on a flat Earth. It's got to be a flat moon too. So in researching this, somebody sent me a meme about the stars. Do stars change? Well, if the Earth revolved around the sun, the stars you see tonight would be completely different from the stars you saw 6 months ago. And this person just kept hounding on that. The stars aren't different. You don't see a difference. And they said you can't see a difference because the Earth is perfectly flat, immobile, doesn't move. Everything else moves around it, raises up and down like that other representation. Changes in the seasons are because of sun movement, not because of tilt, not because of orbit, anything else. This is the way they represent it. Well, here's where their representation really falls apart. The zodiac. Why did the ancients notice the zodiac? Because they noticed the stars were changing every month. Every month, the stars changed in a subtle, small way, and it all revolved around back again 365 and a quarter days later. On this representation, I think it's Jupiter is in Gemini or something like that. I don't really ascribe to astrology, but I do understand the concept. I do, minimally, but even minimally, I can understand that as the sun, see, when the sun is blocking Aries from our view, we say the sun is in Aries. I've heard of that. There's a song about it. Look at this. This person sent me this, saying if the Earth revolved around the sun, the stars you see tonight would be completely different from the stars you saw 6 months ago. I agree totally, because they are. That's what first prompted the ancients to say, what is going on? Where the senses fail us, reason must step in. We think we're on a flat disk, but even the ancients figured it out. They thought this was right, and then they saw the problems, and they went, wait a minute, and they did the math. Here's a representation from a flat Earth person showing, and this. Yet here's another one. One, it's an actual photograph, and it shows the sun or moon staying the same size. Where this one, they have to, because of their claim of perspective, have to change the size. This harvest moon picture, totally impossible on a flat Earth. It's a lie that's being spread, and I really don't know why. That's why I'm doing these videos. I'm trying to figure out why it's being done. This picture is impossible on a flat Earth. It's all a lie. Well, thanks for watching. I hope that if you ever wondered what they were talking about with a disk moon, I hope I've explained it a little bit. And don't be fooled by their slick presentations. Take the time to slow down and think. It's out there for you to see. You can take these pictures. You don't have to look at somebody else's pictures. I got myself a 300 power telescope. I bought it for 70 bucks. You can spread the word. You can spread the truth. Please like and subscribe. Spread the information. Thank you again. This is Mark with Productions MJC.